Hey guys, I'm Sam from KUSH Crime, the True Crime Podcast. I had a great time speaking with Mike today from Dro TV and hope to speak to you guys again soon.
Welcome to My First Time, the show about your first time getting high on marijuana. I'm your host, Mike Freeman with Dro TV. Today, I'd like to welcome our guest, Sam from the KUSH Crime Podcast. What's going on?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Very excited.
Yes, we're going to be doing a swap cast, so I'm excited to go on your show as well. You can find more of the KUSH Crime Podcast and Sam as well on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And just go to kushandcrime.com and you can find all that stuff there.
Yep.
Awesome. So Sam, for our audience that may not know much about you, let everybody know where you're located and a little bit about the KUSH Crime Podcast.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm part of the KUSH Crime Podcast. My husband is the other part. We're located in Tampa area in Florida, and we just are a podcast. We talk about cannabis, its benefits, side effects, certain strains of the day, as like we call them. And then we also have a true crime aspect where we try to bring light to some of the not so infamous crimes, and also talk about just some more popular ones as well, like true crime aspect. So
very cool. Awesome. And I want to delve more into that. But the show is my first time. So Sam, please tell us about the first time you got high.
Yeah, so I had smoked a couple times before I had actually gotten high. So the first time I had gotten high was like I was in a car with my friends. I was in high school at the time, and we were clam baking the car. And I don't know, they call it clam bake, hot box, wherever you're from, they call it a couple different things. So we call it clam bake. So we're clam baking the car, and I was just smoking. We were passing just a piece around, and then all of a sudden it just hits me and I'm like, oh shit. So I'm like trying to fight it because I just didn't know like what was happening. So I'm like, I need to open the door. And all my friends are like, no, 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 no. No, do not open the car door. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I need to open the car door. They're like, no. And I was like, fuck it. And I opened the car door and they're like, no. But then the whole time I'm just sitting there and I'm like zoned out. And then it just hits me. I'm like, oh, fuck, my clothes. Because I was living with my mom at the time and my clothes stunk. So I freaked out and walked home and took a shower, ate some goldfish, and then just sat on the couch for the rest of the day. But that was it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we called it fishbowl. And
okay, I've never heard of that. That's interesting.
Yeah. It was always my truck after school, fishbowl. So. It was just a front cab, so it was nice and small. And
yeah,
cool.
My mom had a minivan. I wanted to smoke out so bad, but I know that she would have absolutely killed me, so I never did. But that's like on my bucket list, is to completely smoke out a minivan for some reason. I don't know why, but I just feel like it'd be nice just have a whole bunch of your friends just sitting there completely baking it out and just chilling. That'd be a great time.
Yeah, I like that. It sounds like a great time. Could sit in there and play some of your podcast. Maybe that's the next listening session.
Yeah, just listen to us talk. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I like about your podcast is you guys take a couple different elements. You talk about like a strain of the week, and then you have a story that you get into. So what made you guys want to start this podcast?
Yeah, so I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. My husband calls them murder podcasts. So I listened to a lot of them, but I had caught up at the time and I was like, I could write. I can write. I could do that. I could tell you a story. And I turned to him. I was like, what do you think? He was like, ooh, I don't know anything about true crime. And I was like, that's the point, because you don't understand anything. So it'll be like, wow, what? That's crazy. Genuine reaction. So we kind of just built off of that. And then we have another friend that we're talking, like bouncing names off of, like we're like, okay, like we could smoke while we talk about it. We could have a strain, like we could do that. And we could call it KUSH Crime. And they're like, yes. So that's kind of how it was born, honestly.
Awesome. And how long have you guys been working on this podcast?
So it's actually just been a year, like 2 weeks ago. So it's been a lot of work, but it's definitely been really fun the times we get to sit down together and do it.
Awesome. And weekly, is that what you shoot for?
So we try to shoot for weekly, but we also work full-time jobs and have a whole life. So it's kind of difficult for us to balance. So we safely say bi-weekly, but hope to get to fully weekly shortly once we get our ducks in a row here, but aiming for fully weekly soon, bi-weekly for now.
Awesome. Yeah. Most people have no idea what goes into audio production, video production, which is why I think some people jump into it and then they realize it's a lot harder and it's a lot more work than they anticipated. So for those that are ambitious, no, every day I'm gonna post something. Or,
It's a lot.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, especially full-time jobs. I'm assuming you guys have kids.
No, we don't have any kids, but we
Okay.
have animals, so we pretend those are our kids. Same
Yeah.
thing. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
I got 3 cats and a dog. They might as well. They puke on the floor.
Yep.
They
That's
demand
exactly what I
food
have
twice
too.
a day.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, didn't come out of us, but we're still responsible for them. So
Exactly. Exactly.
so cool. Have you had guests on your show?
Yeah, we've had a couple of guests. One of my really good lifelong friends, his author name is LB Marvin. So he comes on, he talks about his books, and just we all talk. It's just always so funny when they're on together with us. And then we also have a comedian that we've had on that we've also were friends with, and he has his own podcast as well. So we brought him on, and they enjoyed it. It was definitely interesting being with different people. It's like a different dynamic, and it forces me to kind of change perspective as well. But I always love having guests on because it's just like it's a different vibe, which is always fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So myself excluded, any other guests that you have in the works for future episodes?
I'm hoping there are a couple of people that we met at KushCon, which we both attended, that I would love to have on, which we're going to talk about that a little bit more on our podcast later.
Awesome.
But there's one guy who was arrested for drug trafficking back in the 80s. His name was Rick DeLisi, and I met him at KushCon, and I would love to have him on. I just have to speak with him and coordinate it because he was the longest prisoner for marijuana ever, 31 years. So I think it'd be really like a good thing to have him on our show. Would be a lot of exposure to what is happening still with cannabis, like people getting arrested for marijuana daily still, even though it's somewhat legal in some states. So I want to bring on a guest like that to kind of expose still what's going on that side of things, because we mostly just stick to murder, but I'd love to branch out, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be a good pause from the typical show to add a different kind of element to the KUSH Crime Podcast. And I would imagine I've heard the name, but I don't think I met him at the KushCon, but I would imagine he's still pretty big with like activism and.
Yeah, definitely. So he was actually, I have it right here. Let me see if I can find it. So I think it's the Last Prisoner Project is what got him released from prison.
Awesome.
So they're specifically with like cannabis, getting people out of prison for marijuana related crimes. So that's like their one thing. So he got out with that. So he actually I believe he works with them and talks about them, and he was talking about them with me, and I'm sure he does more with the community as well. So it'd be great to speak to him and pick his brain.
Awesome. And your friend that's the author, he writes true crime books?
No, he actually writes fantasy books. I'm helping him edit them as well. So he's got 2 more that are going to be coming out very soon, and he has one out right now. It's called Descent from the Blossoms, and it's actually like really interesting. Like I don't know how you are about mythology or Greek mythology, but it's that crossed with like almost like post-dystopian society type thing. It's really interesting, and every chapter it's a little bit different. It's like different views of like different characters. So one chapter is about one specific character, and then it all kind of threads and connects, which is pretty interesting.
Very cool. So you and the husband, you're doing the podcast. You guys were at KushCon. Hey everybody, I want to quickly mention Food Forest Abundance. Food Forest Abundance is a great way to create your own self-sustaining food forest and naturally occurring ecosystem that's commonly found in nature, but designed specifically for you. Through multiple layers of trees, shrubs, herbs, vines, rhizomes, mushrooms, and perennial vegetables, you can become your own supply chain without the typical maintenance required of a garden. From small spaces to large areas, both urban and suburban, Food Forest Abundance wants us to get back to our roots in nature by engaging with our food production in a meaningful way. For more information, click on the link in the description below and start your journey today. Okay, let's get back to today's episode. What are your future goals for the podcast?
Yeah, so we would love to honestly be able to put more time and effort into it. So we want to make it grow. We want to kind of gain listeners, gain exposure, just so we can put more effort into it. Because right now I feel like we put a lot more effort into working, and we'd love to put a lot more effort into our podcast, because that's something that we're doing for ourselves versus working for somebody else, if you know what I mean.
Sure. Yeah. We were at KUSH and lots of great businesses and other entrepreneurs there. Did you guys, I mean, I think you were the only podcast, maybe there was another one I remember, like cameras and stuff set up, but especially being other businesses, a little different from a podcast. You don't have a brick and mortar. It's not a product you sell.
Right.
Was there anything that you kind of picked up or learned from other businesses there? And do you even know the guys I'm talking about that had the
Yeah, like the
something?
media stuff. Yeah, I did see
Yeah.
those people. I think they're a bit more of like a media production
Right. Yes.
company. I think for us, I mean, besides the obvious of like sex sells, like, which we weren't trying to, we were sitting, I don't know if you remember where we were, but like we're next to a booth and they have like all these girls with like, I'm not hating, but I'm just saying they have like all these girls with like half dress, and like a lot of people are being drawn to them, and that's not our thing. And we're more just kind of there to, if we talk to people, that's fantastic. If people came over to our table, that's all we wanted.
Right.
But being around bigger businesses was just kind of like, okay, we could get to a point where we're a lot bigger, especially being here. The fact that KUSHCon actually helped us go there, so they took care of our booth in exchange for us like doing like a podcast with them as well, and like marketing, which was really nice of them. So for us, it was more about that exposure and just trying to grow from being there. And we did take away like a couple things from like the smaller companies around, or just how people did things. And I think if we went to another KUSHCon again, we would do things differently. But overall, I think we're more really just there for exposure, not really trying to push or be pushy. But if people came over to us, that was what we were looking for, really.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear, that they gave you a booth for doing a podcast and stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
We're going to be at the Canna Fest in November.
I was looking at that. Yeah. I was
Uh,
looking at that. I want to go to that too. That'd be really cool.
And we're kind of in a similar situation where I think it's almost better, but we don't really have anything to sell. So we're not going there with the intent of, okay, we're investing this much time and money, we got to make this much back. And, so I think we are able to look at it differently and not, focus on sales. And like you said, having the scantily clad, it's more focus on like networking and building and, getting your name and brand out there. So
Exactly.
So you asked me what my favorite strain was for your upcoming episode of KUSH Crime. Do you have a favorite strain right now that you're smoking on, or?
Yeah, I do. And actually, I did just pick some up. So my favorite strain is Headband, but I just picked up some Blueberry Headband, which is close enough. I don't know what it is about Headband. It's just like literally they say it's like you're high around your head, so it feels like a headband.
Okay.
But I love it so much. It's just like the most balanced strain for me. You just feel very relaxed, and it's not like too much or too little. I absolutely love it. I will always say Headband. No matter how many strains I've had, it will always be Headband.
Nice. I've not tried that one, so
they had it at Sanctuary. So I don't know if if you have a Sanctuary near you, but they did have it at Sanctuary, the Blueberry Headband.
Cool. Awesome. I guess I'll have to put that on the list.
Definitely.
Kind of a black market guy myself right now, so what my guy has is what I get.
Yep. I'm definitely used to that. I've had a lot of guys that actually like tend to have a lot of different strains, but they were never able to get headbands. So it was always like, but I got it. So it's okay.
Now I forget, jog my memory. Is one of you from New England? Are you both from New England?
We're both from New England. Yep. Okay. We're both from Connecticut. Born and raised, and he was born and raised too, actually. Yeah. So both.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Because I don't know if it was an 860 or a 203, but
Yep, 860. That's me.
okay. Okay, yeah, yeah. I'm from Worcester, Mass. So
Oh, I actually used to live in Worcester when I was like very, very young, like kindergarten young. I lived in Worcester. That's awesome.
okay,
And
cool.
I could kind of tell because you have the hard A's, so the the practica is for lack
Yeah,
of things to say.
trying to work on that constantly, but
It still comes off, but it's okay. It's kind of subtle, so it's
yeah,
not too bad.
being here in Florida, we're around so many other people that I'm hoping eventually I'll pick up, some other forms of dialect and dropping my R's because
Yeah.
you know it's certainly noticeable when I hear someone around here worse than me.
Yep.
Uh, Reminds me that I've got work to do. So
No, it's okay. It'll just fall into this goopy mess of all accents combined because some people have southern accents, some people still have their New York accents or their Boston accents.
yeah,
So
yeah,
and then you've got like the Californian people that are like totally. So it'll just melt into this random accent. Nobody will be able to tell where you're from at that
yeah.
point.
That would be perfect. Now, do you? I'm sorry. What's your husband's name? I forget. I know I met him.
Ozzy.
Ozzy. That's right.
Hmm.
You and Ozzy, do you get baked before you record?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That is the essential element.
Okay.
So Ozzy, when he smokes, is so goofy and silly that it just adds on to like his reactions when I present him with the absolutely fucked up case that like the most fucked up case that I can find. And he's always like, what? And it just adds on. It's fantastic. So it's like a crucial element to smoke.
Excuse me.
You're good.
Um, yeah, thinking back to some of the because I remember listening to the one before KushCon, the one after KushCon,
Hmm.
um, and I mean we're recording. This can be edited, so sometimes I don't know if it's oh yeah, I'm smoking. I have a fake joint. I end the show with. It's not fake. It's Delta 8, but I don't. I'm here in my house. I don't smoke in my house. I don't smoke when I record these because I don't do a very good job.
Right.
Um,
Get
so
it?
uh, I wish I could. Um, so more props to you guys that you're able to do it.
Well, he does it mostly. So I'll smoke, but I can't go past a certain point because if I start melting, then I start tripping over words, and it's impossible. So I do smoke just to get in the right headspace for talking about the crazy things I have to talk about, but I don't get as high as he does, which is always that's why it works.
Nice.
Hmm.
Now, unfortunately, the world we live in a crazy world. There's no shortage of true crime stories.
That is true.
So how do you sort through and determine, do you have criteria like this one was more fucked up than the last or, you know,
I mean, sometimes yes. So for how I like to tell the stories to Ozzy is if they have a twist, I love ones with a twist for him because he doesn't see them coming. But then I'll also throw in some of the ones that I really like. It made me think a lot about what types of things could have happened to these people. So I like those ones as well. So I try to find ones that are interesting or really, really fucked up. So there's like that in between. But also we are trying to do a case from every single state, which we've done a lot from Florida. We've done a couple from California. So we're trying, and we just did one from Pennsylvania. So we're just trying to like spread them out a little bit so we can have one from each state and then from there kind of double down. And then I haven't really done many serial killers, so I'm going to do a couple serial killers here and there too. So yeah, it's just about what will give him the most shock value, really.
right. Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's no shortage of those stories here in this state.
No, unfortunately not. Definitely in this state, Florida
Yeah,
man is yes, Florida man. Hmm. Crazy.
100%. I don't think you couldn't have. I mean, I guess maybe California man, New York man doesn't really have the ring to it.
No.
Texas man, maybe kind of, but those can mean a lot of different things. But Florida man, everybody just as wide and as broad as that term is, Florida man, it sums it up just like that. So
Yeah, just craziness. Hmm.
yeah, Cool. Well, Sam, it's been awesome speaking with you today. We're actually recording on a Sunday, so both of us have taken time out where we could probably be doing a lot cooler things. So I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
But no, this was awesome. Looking forward to hopping on your guys' podcast. So we'll be looking forward to promoting that as well, all across Dro TV. But before we say goodbye today, please let everybody know where they can find more of you guys and the KUSH Crime Podcast.
Yeah, so you can go to our website at kushandcrime.com, or you can follow us on any social media channel at KUSH Crime, and anywhere you get podcasts.
Great. And if you enjoyed this episode and KUSH Crime Podcast, make sure you go down and smash that like button. Leave a comment. Maybe you know a fucked up story that you can suggest, and maybe they'll look into it.
Yeah.
And make sure you subscribe to Dro TV on YouTube as well, if that's where you're watching this, because you want to make sure you don't miss more great interviews like this one. So, Sam, thanks again for giving us some time today. And as always, smoke them if you got them. What's up, Dro TV family? You can now stream the audio version of all these episodes on your favorite podcast player. And if you like more episodes like this, check out this playlist we put together over here for you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube. You don't want to miss more great content from Dro TV. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, smoke them if you got them.